another awesome
Recording in progress.
from Mindful Living. We really appreciate your taking out the time and joining the session today. Your joining the session is a clear demonstration of your intention to improve the quality of life for yourself and your family. And I assure you that this investment of time will definitely be worth its while. The topic of the session today, or the theme for the sessions in this month rather, is celebration of Children's Day. And we thought what better way to kick off this celebration other than by organizing this session on Reparenting Your Inner Child by Dr. Nupur. Inner child work is something which is very touchy. And if it is okay with you, I would like to start by sharing my personal story. So if I have your permission to share my personal story, please type P in the chat box. Thank you, Shruti. Thank you, Dr. Jasbir. Thank you, Manohar. Thank you, Dayalji. Thank you, Aditi. Thank you, friends. This may be, this is a touchy topic, and my first memory of my childhood is my father slapping me and I crying on an afternoon. And my second memory of my childhood is standing in front of my father with a report card and trembling with fear. It was not that I was a poor student or a naughty student, but my father was from IIT BHU, and irrespective of how good I scored in my exams, it was never good enough for him. So I grew up with this feeling of being inadequate. If what I'm sharing with you resonates with you, please type NGE, not good enough. If you or somebody you know has grown up feeling not good enough, I'm not good enough for my company, my parents, my siblings, please type NGE in the chat box. And my way to compensate or overcompensate was to work more and more and more. And I drowned myself in work when I started my corporate career. And, that's a very corporate career is a very competitive space, and the stress took its toll. I started smoking, and with smoking, drinking endless cups of coffee. So I would like have 10 cups of coffee and 10 cigarettes in a day. Every hour, just step outside office, have a smoke, have a coffee and things like that. And all of that took a toll on my health. And I also had developed this fear of authority figures. So I found it very difficult to express myself freely in front of the seniors in my office. So otherwise I was very articulate, but in front of seniors, I would find it very difficult to communicate. And that impacts, in a corporate career, that impacts your growth when you're not able to speak up for yourself. If there is any one of you who is resonating with what I am sharing, please type me in the chat box. And to compensate one another, nobody teaches you how to deal with these difficult emotions of inadequacy, and many a times you're not even, you don't even realize what is happening to you. And another thing that happened to me was I became a people pleaser. I would be the nice guy, trying to please everybody, seeking their approval and not really standing up for what I want in my life, just saying yes, And a lot of this took a lot of time. And no, I'm not from Banaras. And it took me like 40 years to realize that this is the issue. I didn't realize that what is the cause of this behavior, this behavior which is not very supportive to what I want to do. And when I realized this, I had some coaching sessions with Dr. Nupur, where she helped me identify some of the challenges which I was facing, and how it was impacting my performance at work. And when we were planning these sessions, I thought there is nobody better than Dr. Nupur to conduct this session on inner child work, which impacts so much. And what I've shared with you is a very normal story. There are many horror stories I have heard from my clients and from my friends of what they have gone through in their childhood. And the common way of dealing with this is to just shut it up, and lock it and not talk about it. And then that creates so much more trouble. And I guess this, those of you who are here, somewhere this must have resonated with you. And that's the reason you have chosen to be here for this session by Dr. Nupur. Many of you are familiar with Dr. Nupur. She's the most popular speaker on the Mindful Living platform. She's a specialist in dental medicine and radiology, who transitioned into mind-body medicine over 2 decades ago. She's a certified mindfulness teacher working with NHS hospitals in London, helping cancer patients. She has done some phenomenal work, which has been published in leading European medical journals, and not only published, it has also won awards. So if you think that is awesome, please show some love to her, thumbs up, clap, whatever. She's a Reiki master who also offers one-to-one coaching and group workshops to people. Dr. Nupur, would you like to say hello to everyone?
That was so sweet. Thank you so much for all the love and appreciation. Thank you, Ashish. It's always a pleasure to be here and such a joy for me. Thank you so much. And thanks to everybody who's taken the time to be present.
Thank you, Dr. Nupur. Friends, how many of you are joining our session for the first time? If you're joining a mindful living session for the first time, please type FT in the chat box. Thank you, Surya Prakash. Thank you, everybody, for your comments. So thank you. I see some of you are joining us for the first time. So I'll take a couple of minutes to introduce myself. My name is Ashish Kumar, and I'm the founder of Mindful Living. I started Mindful Living in 2018. Prior to that, I worked in the corporate sector for over 25 years in senior management roles with organizations like Tata Group, Future Generali, HCL Group, and the Dabur Group. During the years of my working in the corporate sector, I saw how stressed the employees in the corporate sector are and how the stress is taking a toll on their health, happiness, and well-being. And I thought to myself, being a certified mindfulness meditation teacher, that there is a need for taking the message of living consciously to the corporates. And I started Mindful Living in 2018. And friends, with the good wishes of everyone, I'm proud to say that over the last 4 years, we have conducted over 300 sessions for 50 top-notch corporates in India like Aditya Birla, Tata Group, EXL, Hero Group, Schneider, Signify, and many other leading organizations, impacting the lives of over 10,000 employees. The session today is being organized as a part of the Mindful Living Community Initiative. The Mindful Living community started in April 2020 when the first lockdown took place, and few of my friends approached me for conducting mindfulness sessions for them to help them deal with the anxiety that this uncertainty and lockdown was causing them. So over a weekend, I conducted a session for them. One thing led to the other, and today we have grown to be a community of over 3,000 people, which engages actively on learning and sharing about how to live consciously. If you would like to be a part of this community, please click on the link that we are sharing in the chat and join this community. This is a very safe place for you to learn about living mindfully. There are no religious posts that we encourage, no political posts. It's a safe space. Everybody respects each other. The space is of working professionals, senior business owners, and senior corporate professionals. So if you're not a member of Mindful Living already, please take this opportunity to join us. And before I hand over to Dr. Nupur, just some housekeeping rules. Please use these reactions button on the the toolbar to stay engaged. We will take question answers towards the end of the session, but stay engaged and clap or show thumbs up, love, in case anything that Dr. Nupur says that resonates with you, and keep your cameras on. This is your time. This is me time. So I would urge you not to get distracted. Pay full attention to the next one for the next 45 odd minutes, and listen to Dr. Nupur, what she's going to share, which is something so amazing, which will take your life many notches up. On that note, over to you, Dr. Nupur.
Thank you so much, Ashish. It's a pleasure to have such a good number turn up, and always a pleasure to be hosting and be a part of Mindful Living. I also wanted to say a word of gratitude to Ashish and Mindful Living, because I know how much hard work goes into doing these sessions week after week. I think it's been going on every Saturday for the last few years now. And I've had the privilege of being associated very closely with Mindful Living, and it's an honor. And as somebody said, yes, many more to come, and really appreciate your selfless giving to the community, because all of us learn from each other. And I think it's all about the power of connection and the power of growth that you bring to the platform. So thank you so much. Let's start off with the inner child work that's very close to my heart. I have done a lot of inner child work on myself when I was getting initiated into the space of well-being and mind-body medicine. Thank you for the introduction. Ashish did share with you that I have a medical background, and I worked as an oral cancer specialist in India. And when I transitioned into mind-body medicine, it was a very conscious choice, because I realized that there's a lot that goes on for an individual who gets an illness, whether it's emotional illness, psychological or physical illness. And medicines are great, surgeries are great, but there was a dimension that was missing. And that led me to explore much deeply this space. And I've been working in this space for the last 7 years now. And one of the key aspects of mind-body medicine that I found very intriguing and quite mind-boggling, and it really opened up a healing journey for myself. And as they say, before you can offer anything to anybody else, you need to heal your own self. So this is one of the first works that I started doing for myself. And I really want to thank Ashish for sharing such an intimate and such a personal experience of his life that really shaped a lot of his adult life experiences. So with that note, my friends, I would like to share all the knowledge that I have, which is obviously not everything which is out there, but I'll do my best. And I'm also going to inform you of some deeper work that we're going to be doing this month on inner child. Now, this is a picture that came up in my research, and this is a photo that's in front of you. And I would really urge all of you to look at this picture that's appearing on the screen, and write in the chat box of what's going on here. What does this picture emote? What's going on for this gentleman who seems to be smiling, such a beautiful smile, handsome fellow? So in chat, please just express your views of what is this picture telling you. And I'm going to pause for a few minutes, because this is very critical for the rest of the webinar today. So please share. I'm just reading the chat now. Okay, very interesting. All right. Sad child in his adulthood. Very interesting. Childhood embedded in mind. Happy face, sad within. Right. And Yogita says that it's about a smart looking boy. Let me just go up, a little scroll up. Having a sad childhood inside controlling emotions. So do we all agree that there is something that appears, but deeper inside, there is something totally different going on? Shruti says happy on the outside, but not inside much. Yes. Yes. Facade of happiness. Yes, you're absolutely right. Thank you for all your messages. And that also, I really want to thank this website from where I picked this image up, because we do a lot of research, when we are presenting something to you at Mindful Living. And this image was one of an image of literally my prayer getting answered, because I really wanted an impactful image that conveys only in one picture. Sometimes a picture can speak 1,000 words, they say. And this picture is actually showing and telling us that everything seems absolutely all right in the face of things. But there is a abandoned child. There's a sad child, this child who's shut down. He's feeling he's so clamped up. It's like literally he's closed down. And also that there is a toy that is left besides this little boy, abandoned. He wants to play, he wants to engage, but he's not able to. And this fellow grows up and is being told by the society to put up a front, and he's doing it amazingly well. But in his heart, there is something, a completely different reality, right? And a lot of times when I was doing the inner child work, a lot of times it was the women who were coming up, the women who were recognizing this more than men. But it's very unfortunate that we have very high suicide rates in men, because men culturally, because of conditioning, clamp up. They are told that it's not, boys don't cry. So these are the kind of messages that we receive. And men don't express their emotions. They're called that it's not macho to express your emotions. And that's why I was so happy when I actually found an image of a man who's, for our understanding, it's really important to understand that inner child has got nothing to do with our gender. Whether we are male or whether we are female, we all feel very similar feelings. We all go through these emotions, and we all very, it's just that some of us are more expressive, but some aren't. So that's the intention for us to understand that, this is what inner child healing talks about. That we may be an adult, but there is always a child inside within us. Let's go to the next slide. So understanding what the inner child is. And I'm just going to say that feel free to keep sharing whatever you wish to share on the chat. We will be doing a Q&A session towards the end. I may not take all the questions right now, but please keep them coming and share them in the chat. So inner child, as it is defined, was something that is a very integral part of popular psychology. In fact, first it was mentioned by and discovered by a play therapist, an art therapist. And she, in her art, through her art, I think her name was Dr. Lucia, talked about the concept of inner child. And Carl Jung, who was a very, very famous psychologist, hugely worked and brought this concept of inner child to common knowledge. And that's what he worked with. Inner child, as if we need a definition, it's not really a definition, but it's for our understanding that it's a sum of psychological and emotional memories that have been acquired since conception through our teen years. And I would even go on to say, even in our early adult years, So it's something that is a kind of a storehouse of everything that's going on. It is a metaphorical concept, but it is used by many schools of psychology and psychotherapy to describe a distinct time-frozen aspect of a person's psyche. Now, what do we mean by a time-frozen aspect? That's really important for us to understand, and we are going to be dwelling deeper into that. When we are children, we actually are experiencing so much is going on, but a child doesn't always have the emotional maturity to make sense of what's going on. They don't even have the power of interpretation. They absorb and take things at as they say, at face value, right? And sometimes they make meaning from their own limited and a very, very innocent perspective. And that's what we are going to understand today. How is that creating our reality as adults? Because as that picture, for those of you who have just joined us, that the picture which we just opened our session with, talked about that we may be way into our 40s, 50s, and even 70s. But there is always this time frozen aspect of our psyche, which we just understood, which is our inner child. And if this inner child is wounded, then it's very difficult for us to live a life of of a very fulfilled adult. And it has repercussions, which we are going to discuss today. Now, when we talk about inner child work, we have understood now through research, through everything that has been documented over years from the time of Carl Jung, that inner child has many types, right? For the sake of the time and the limited availability of time that we have, I'm not going to go into all the aspects of it. This is not just, these 6 aspects are not something, we have many more beyond that, but for our sake of understanding, these were the key ones that I thought we must touch upon. All of these somehow create a wounded inner child. But for the knowledge, we have abandoned inner child, neglected inner child, we have a rebellious inner child, we have disconnected and discounted inner child. Now, what do we mean by these terminologies? Now, sometimes, when we are growing up, there are these sense of abandonment. When we feel lost, we feel we don't belong. And sometimes there is a sense of the families that we are growing up, the schools that we are studying, we may be facing bullying. And it could be that you're being brought up in a family of foster parents, or you are, not with your birth parents. And even if you are with your birth parents, maybe the child is not feeling cared for. So the child starts to develop these traits of abandonment, neglect. When a child feels that their needs are not being met, and for a child, the needs are very basic in the beginning. Yes, they need food. Yes, they need shelter. But beyond that survival point, what next comes in is their need to be lovingly nurtured. They need to be heard. They need to be seen, right? And these are the kind of wounds that get inflicted if these basic needs are not met for the children. A rebellious inner child. Sometimes a child needs to create drama to be seen or heard by their parents or their carers. Unless they do drama, unless they do something drastic, they don't get that attention. So if the child understands that for me to get seen, to become visible, I need to do some drama. I need to do something drastic. And that leads to the rebellious inner child, who's always rebelling, who's always going against the tide, right? A disconnected inner child. There is complete lack of a sense of safety for this child. They feel that they do not belong. So there's a feeling that I don't belong where I'm growing up. And a lot of time children feel that not just in their families, but they also feel in their schools. There is a sense that the society that I'm growing up, I don't belong because I don't resonate with the philosophies of this, of what I'm hearing, of what I'm experiencing. Discounted inner child is sometimes when the child is invisible, appears to be invisible. Typically seen a lot of times in families where you have got many children, or especially families where there is a bias towards a girl child against a girl child, or more towards a boy child. These things are international across spectrum. They have nothing to do with a particular country or religion. And that's what I'm seeing now that I've been practicing in the Western world. The discounted inner child feels that nobody sees them. They don't exist. So for them, they feel that I am not even alive. I'm like a ghost. So they develop this fear or this feeling that they're invisible. And all of these experiences for a child, whether they're abandoned, whether they are neglected, whether they have had abuse, or they are very fearful. A lot of times when the child is discounted or abandoned, they develop a sense of deep fear, existential fear within them. They almost start feeling that their basic survival is threatened. They may be having everything materialistically, but they have a fear of survival. So they start becoming anxious, stressed. They start getting panic attacks. And now that we are seeing this a lot more in children. But this is something that has happened through generations, our generations of my parents, perhaps your parents, your grandparents. Everybody has experienced that. But now this has come to our knowledge because now we can do something about it, right? Because of the research and the data that has been collected over the years. Now, why is it important for us to understand this? That why do we need to go back to our childhood wounds? Why would we want to go back to something that was so traumatic? Why? Because we understood that it is a time frozen concept. This doesn't go away just because we have grown chronologically in age. What do we mean by chronologically? That means I was 5, then I became 15, then I became 25, and now I'm 55 or 65. That's chronological age. You may have grown chronologically, but this part of you gets frozen in time. It has not grown. As we saw in that first picture, that part of us is still very much intact, and not just intact, somewhere it is creating your adult personality. Abuse, trauma, I didn't even talk about that when I discussed the inner child, but this is something that we are seeing. And literally, when we talk about trauma in the beginning, as an adult, you may have something called PTSD, which is called post-traumatic stress disorder. Now, this was tradition, when we started talking about PTSD, it was associated more with war veterans, people who have had combat trauma in the wars they have faced it. But now we also understand that trauma is trauma for a child who was humiliated by his teacher or her teacher for not doing the homework. They were asked to stand up, and they were asked that, no, you need to, they were humiliated in front of everybody. Yes, they did a mistake, but the way they were kind of punished, sometimes it was not proportionate. The punishment to the mistake was not, and that happens a lot, and for this child, this was traumatic, and for them, they become so ashamed of themselves that, and they were told that you're a failure. Getting the messages growing up that you will never be good enough. We are compared to our siblings, we are compared to even our cousins, and we are told that, oh, you will never be good enough, like you'll never be able to match up to that person, you will never be able to be as good as your sister or your brother, the older ones, or your cousins. Now, for a child, these become their realities. They start believing this narrative that, oh, you are a failure. You may have failed a unit test, and you're so scared, you're so traumatized, that you start believing that you are not good enough. And you may start now failing the final exams. And you know what? It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. And this is what the adult starts to believe. Now, this is something we need to understand, that sometimes people not have necessarily have had sexual abuse or huge traumatic physical trauma, but these emotional, subtle emotional things, these mental things that they're subjecting to are what are wounding their inner child. And that aspect is what is manifesting as an adult who has immense anger issues. They start to lash out. They are so unhappy, and they're so upset that they start to get angry outbursts. They are adults who are completely unaware of what are boundaries. What do you mean by healthy boundaries? What do you mean by acceptance? They feel they're not accepted by society, and they go on to addictions. They start relying onto substances, on they medicate themselves to numb themselves, because they don't know how else to process this pain, this sadness, this heaviness that they've been carrying inside their hearts, right? So this is how the inner child never really leaves us. It's always a part of our personality. In fact, it informs our personality. It creates our personality. Now, this is something which I want you all to understand, that one of the key ways in which this happens is through the conscious as well as the unconscious. The words unconscious and subconscious are very interchangeable. It's important. I'm not going to go into the depths of this, but it's really important to understand that the person that you and I are, we feel that everything is from the conscious mind. Now, the conscious mind, I would say, is only about 8 to 10% of our waking awareness, right? And that conscious mind is the mind through which you are listening to me, you are perhaps judging me, you are critically evaluating what I am sharing with you. You could even be understanding it, integrating it. That's a big part of our conscious mind. It helps us to learn, integrate. Unconscious mind, or the subconscious mind, is the mind which is actually the majority of our consciousness. It is almost up to 90%. And this is the subconscious mind. In this image, if you look at it, it is being shown in the form of an iceberg. Iceberg is, if you've heard of this, of the incidents of Titanic, that ship that sunk in, I think, in the year 1912, it hit an iceberg, and that's when it sank. It's a huge, one of the saddest, events during that time of such a big vessel sinking. Now, iceberg, why? Because only a part of the iceberg is visible to the eye, right? Majority of the iceberg is submerged. It's unseen. Exactly, that's why we use the analogy of an iceberg in our understanding. Majority of our mental processing of our conscious awareness is unconscious or subconscious. But this is what is informing our current life experiences. When sometimes we are reacting to certain things very disproportionately, and people tell you that, oh, you make a mountain of a molehill. Now, you don't do that consciously. That reaction gets triggered from you. From where does that happen? That happens from your subconscious. Now, why is it important for us to understand this? Is because our inner child is a part of this aspect, the unconscious aspect. And this is where all our childhood experiences, good, the bad, and the ugly, are stored. And they keep forming this frozen part of our psyche. So, it's very, very good to say that, no, as an adult, I want to excel at work. I want to do really well. And you may have all the qualifications that are required. You may have ticked all the boxes. By the book, you are the best. But why is it that you're still struggling professionally? Why is it that you're not getting that promotion? Why is it you're the one who has to, really make huge noise to get that pay packaged as your peers? And it has got nothing to do with the gender. It may have to some extent, but not when it comes to the inner child. That's because if the inner child has been given things to hear that you will never amount to anything in your life, you are not as good, you are not good enough, you know what, you'll continue to fail. You don't work, you don't deserve to be successful in life. And believe it or not, I have worked with clients who have got these messages from various sources while they were growing up. And that's unfortunately creating their reality. And we are going to understand how it manifests as adulthood. But it's really important to understand that this is what's causing our adult selves to get impacted by our inner child, because our subconscious mind is running the show to the most extent. Now, recognizing the pains of the inner child, why, having understood all of this, we have to also understand, how do we recognize whether our inner child needs healing at all, right? Now, if we feel that and this is not an exhaustive list, it's something that we had to obviously condense. I had to really come up with some of the key things which I thought might be most pertinent for us. Feelings of shame, guilt, and pain that we have been harboring. A sense of neediness, dependency, a fear of abandonment. Sometimes you may also be noticing that I'm always overworking. I'm a perfectionist. There is always this need to want to show to the people that, yes, I have achieved. Yes, I deserve this. And most of the times we are doing this to make other people happy, to make other people, recognize us. Never being able to enjoy life. You're always sabotaging. And self-sabotage is a huge aspect of an injured or a wounded inner child. And we'll understand what self-sabotage means. Having unhealthy relationships. You're getting into relationships which are not fulfilling. You are attracting partners who are abusive or who are completely unemotional. They don't understand emotional needs that you have. And this becomes a pattern. It keeps repeating. And it's not only in intimate relationships, it could also be in work relationships, right? In your friendships. And you're always feeling a sense of lack. You're always feeling that life is never feeling good for you. You're feeling that, you're numbing your emotions through addictions, and you're getting into a perpetual feeling of low self-esteem. And that is something that, manifests as even something what you call as imposter syndrome. I'm going to talk about that. Eating disorders. People tend to start to eat. A lot of times, people who have had very, very abused childhood, people who have had this feeling of shame and guilt, they tend to, find solace in food. They actually tend to create a body image that tells people, don't come near me. They want to get bigger unconsciously because being bigger feels safe, because that means they will not attract their abusers to them. And that's a fact. When a lot of times people who are not able to lose weight come to me, and we explore that they have had a very traumatic childhood, right? It could be very abusive childhood. So having understood that, and this is for each of us to, to recognize. You could even take a picture of this slide. And once we understand these aspects, we understand that it's not just us. The people that you're living with, working with, they could be going through that. So this awareness is really important because it makes you a more compassionate human being. Because the person that you're meeting at work, they may be, somebody you're not getting along with, but there's a reason why you're not. They perhaps have a wounded inner child. So, we understand that before we judge people, we become more tolerant. We start giving people a benefit of the doubt, because we realize that, we don't know what has been going on in their life. So it makes us better human beings at all levels once we understand that. So understanding the consequence and impact of the unhealed inner child. Now, I follow Dr. Nicole La Pereira a lot, and I read her books and I follow her. I was doing my research, as always, for this workshop, for this webinar, and also the workshop that I'm going to be talking about. And this came up in tweet, which I found was absolutely amazing, and I wanted to share with you all. She says that childhood emotional neglect, or CEN, is a common and an often unrecognized trauma in childhood that deeply impacts our sense of self. And many people who experience this neglect have well-meaning parents who have been emotionally neglected themselves. Now, this is a very key aspect that I want you all to understand, that whoever created that sense of discomfort in childhood, that pain in childhood, it could have been our parents, it could have been our carers. Unless it was an abuse or a trauma, most of the times our parents were well-meaning adults. They did not know that they were inflicting this on us. That's why this well-meaning is really important. I don't want any of us to start hating our parents or our carers or our teachers, because they didn't know any better. They did not know any better. They were trying to do what was actually being handed down to them through generations. So childhood trauma is generational. It gets passed on from one generation to another because nobody has healed it. And it's almost considered to be the norm. But we don't need to get angry or really resentful of them, because they were well-meaning. They didn't know any better. Perhaps they were themselves a result of a emotional abuse or neglect, right? We forget that our parents also had a life before they became our parents. So we don't know what might have transpired there. Also, what happens is, Dr. Nicole goes on to say that we believe, suppose you have been abandoned, suppose you've gone through a very difficult emotional situation, we start believing as children that our needs don't matter. Our emotions are not important. I am not important, and people don't care to know, that we are, to get to know us emotionally. We become emotionally very, very numb. Now, what happens when that happens is we start to attract subconsciously partners who start resonating and responding to that emotional vibration. I don't know if you have heard any of my previous talks or you have attended any of my previous workshops. I heavily talk about the fact that we are more energy than body and form. That means all the thoughts, all the emotions, all our likes, experiences are more energetic. And because they're energy, whatever frequency, whatever vibration you give out, you attract a similar vibration, right? That means we are attracting partners, we are attracting life situations, we are attracting job opportunities, which are vibrating at that level that you are not good enough. And they will meet you at that level because that's your perfume, that's your vibration. So what happens is, when we feel we are not important, we don't matter, we'll attract partners who invalidate our feelings, right? These are the people who shut down when we express how we feel, and they are not available emotionally. And a lot of times we feel that we need to work hard to get love. And not just love, we need to work hard. We need to kill ourselves to get recognition at work or to get that promotion. We never feel we are enough. We never feel my work is enough, my hard work is enough, my intelligence is enough. There is a feeling and a fear that we are an imposter. right? And that's why I wanted us to understand that this self-sabotage, this limiting beliefs, all of these develop at a very young age in our life, while we are growing up, in our teenage years, in our young adult lives. That's what manifests as a self-sabotaging behavior. Imposter syndrome, I've worked especially with a lot of senior executives. In fact, also have worked with a couple of, one CFO and one CEO. And you'd be amazed that a person of that caliber, of that experience, of that intelligence, when they tell you that, Nupur, somehow I feel that I'm an imposter. I don't belong. I don't deserve the paycheck that I'm getting. I don't belong here. I don't deserve to lead this team. Why? Because they feel that they are an imposter. And that is one of, there's so many self-sabotaging behaviors. I mean, we have done a whole corporate workshop on self-sabotage, but I wanted to really bring home this point that no matter how good you are, if your inner child is unhealed, you'll always feel like an imposter, like somebody you don't deserve the good things in life. And because you believe that, you'll keep inviting patterns of failure, of things like that in your life. So how does it affect our adult self? We are constantly struggling. You feel that I don't deserve, or I'm not good enough, right? You have intimacy issues, you have trust issues. You'll never trust anybody. You'll never trust even your most beloved partner. And you get, all of these things what we discussed, you are always feeling less than. You always feel that there's something lagging in my life. You're always saying that, yaar, uske saath to everything goes really well. And this person is always getting everything, but why am I not the one who's getting anything? Why, despite of doing the best, I'm not enjoying? Now that's the reason, because somewhere these things have got completely ignored in our life, right? So we are operating. So we are always working on these machines we call computers and laptops and tablets these days. Everything has a software, right? So the software that's creating our ability to, I'm able to work on this because my laptop has a good software. Now the software that's running our programs is corrupted. Why? Because that software is riddled with these limiting beliefs. I don't matter. I don't deserve. I need to work hard to get results. I'm actually a failure. I will not amount to much in life. I don't deserve love, right? If that's you're running your software, then you can imagine how the programming is going to be like, right? So having understood the impact, why do we need to heal the inner child? And I absolutely love this quote that came up. If you don't heal what hurt you, you'll bleed on people who didn't cut you. Really, really read this quote a few times and understand that if we don't heal our wounds, then we are forever struggling in our adult relationships. We are lashing out, we not only with our intimate relationships, not only with our work colleagues, but we are also lashing out on our children. Our family life can become miserable because if either you're working from, you're enacting your wounded inner child, or you are mimicking your parent who was a wounded child themselves. So a lot of times I want you to pause and ask yourself, is this behavior mine, or am I mimicking the behavior of my family, my parents, my grandparents? Is this belief mine, or was this handed down to me from a generation, right? Is this hurt that I am called, this wound that is festering, the wounds become gangrenous. Those of us who perhaps know what diabetes is, we are always being told, be careful, your cut should not become a gangrene because that leads to amputations. So we have to understand that these wounds become gangrenous if we don't heal them. And that's when it will really impact, and you will start bleeding on people who were innocent, who did not do anything to you. But that is impacting everything in your life at this age. And it doesn't matter whether we are 75 or whether we are 55 or 35. This is common across the board, right? So understanding that it's time that, my intention is to make you aware of, more than anything, to become aware and ask yourself this question: the struggles that I'm going through in my life presently, the quality of my life, the challenges that I'm having, could they be because of an unhealed inner child? Could I have had something that is impacting my present adult life? And because we have to understand that we can rewrite our script. We all have the power to live our life with joy, abundance, but we need to work on upgrading our software to 2.2. You know, if that is the software that you're running, if that's the programming that's running, you update your phones, you update your tablets, you update your laptops with the latest softwares. But when will you update your own programming? So that's the reason why we need to heal our inner child. And we have to also understand we need to become more conscious. Now, some of us are parents, some of us are not. But, you know, becoming a conscious parent to yourself, that's the first and foremost thing is start parenting, reparenting yourself, no matter what age you are. Right. And I'm going to be talking about a workshop that we are going to be doing. We're going to be discussing a lot more in detail. I'm going to share with you everything on that as well now. But understand, if one thing you take back from today's webinar is that start being that loving presence for your own self in your life, that voice of validation, that voice of love that you missed growing up, right? Because otherwise these patterns of generations will never break. They'll just get passed on from one generation to another. So we owe it to our families, because our family lives can get miserable if we don't realize that we need to heal ourselves first before we become a parent to anybody else. Yeah. So some of the strategies that I want you all to really be very mindful of and take back with you, take a picture of this slide if you need to, become really aware. Stop justifying your behavior. Stop justifying yourself that, you know, this is who I am. That's my personality. Don't expect me to be softer to you. Don't expect me to be kinder to you. No, stop justifying your disruptive behaviors. Become aware that, you know, this is creating my problem. So far we have been blaming the outside world. Oh, my job, my boss doesn't understand me, my partner doesn't understand me, my life situation is, I always get handed down the worst deals in life. No, now it's time to understand, what am I? What am I not seeing inside me that's creating this reality for me? So notice that harsh and self-critical self-talk that's always going on in your mind. That's your inner child. That's your, you know, literally abused voice speaking to you. So you start reparenting, you start being your best friend, you start becoming your parent. Start journaling. Journaling is a very powerful thing. What do we mean by journaling? We start writing diary. Some of us used to write diaries when we were growing up, but we have stopped that. Journaling is a very, very beautiful way in which our inner self starts to reveal, our wounds start to come out. And once we know what we are up against, only then we can heal it, right? Self-love and compassion, that's huge. Now, self-love is the most underrated aspect. We have to understand that we need to give ourselves that love and compassion and confidence before we can ask anybody else to give us. You know, something that I want to talk about at this point is, I can talk about all my cases. I've worked, by God's grace, I've had the opportunity once I healed my inner child. And to be honest with you, I'm still, you know, loving your inner child is a constant space that we are always in. But yes, some parts of me needed healing. Once I did that, and once I had the privilege of working with so many people, a lot of celebrities, in fact, I also realized that, you know, have had these kind of wounded inner childs, and not everybody talks about them. But one person that I thought I must share about, and a lot of respect and a lot of love to him. This is a director of Bollywood that actually has shared very openly in the public forum that he got abused as a child. And I think if I can share his name, Anurag Kashyap, and Ashish can correct me if I'm wrong. He got abused as a child. And that led to such intense feeling of bitterness, resentment, and hatred in him, that, you know, a sense of violation of his self, that for the longest time it kept manifesting in his behavior, in his work, in his relationships, and he was struggling with that till he actually openly acknowledged that, and he worked on that to heal it, you know. So understand that we are walking together with people who have got this, who are going through these challenges, right? So now that you're more aware of, I would really urge you to start being more compassionate to people that you're interacting with in your daily life, because you don't know what they have gone through, what has created these personalities in them. So, one thing that I really want you to understand, one's biggest strategy to heal your inner child is altering your perception. Once you realized what has hurt you, what has wounded you, start journaling it, start reflecting, start giving yourself that love and validation. Your perception will alter. Why will your perception alter, and why is that important? Now, that's a very important thing. I really want you to understand that, though obviously we're going to be doing much deeper work in the workshop, but at this point, if you understand this much, that's also amazing. That time is an illusion. Time is a man-made concept. And we understand that now because we are always carrying our inner child with us. Once you can get and heal that part of you that got abused, that got rejected, that got denied, what happens is, when you look back, having worked on yourself, when you look back to your past, when you look back to your history, you'll be amazed to realize that that bitterness is no longer there in your heart. You'll be amazed to realize you're not carrying that grudge against that person or that life situation that brought about that in you. You'll start changing your perception of your past, and changing the perception means you are going to rewrite your story. And that means you're going to say that, yes, that happened to me, but I have grown from that. I realize my power now. And if that had not happened to me, I would not be this powerful, well brought out individual that I am today, so empowered. I am better having learned my lessons, having healed from that trauma, that past that happened to me. So you change your perception, and the moment you change your perception, your reality changes. This is huge. This is what we are understanding from quantum field work now, that time is an illusion, past is an illusion. The moment you heal, that's the moment you transcend, right? That's why that's important. And please include playfulness in your life. I cannot stress enough. Ashish started this webinar with that beautiful song we've all heard growing up, Tum bhi agar bache hote, and some of you joined late, so you missed that. Playfulness, being playful, being lighthearted is the most important and joyful thing that you can do for your inner self and for your adult self. In fact, when just before we started the webinar, I saw, and if the person is still around, one of the titles or one of the names that I saw for a Zoom window was Snoopy-da. Snoopy-da, if you're still there, I actually started smiling when I read that. Obviously, that's not your name, but you're very goofily calling yourself Snoopy-da. And I thought that's so beautiful. Why do we stop watching Disney animations or the wonderful animations that even in India, we make, just because we feel we are adults? We can't enjoy fairy tales, we can't enjoy Comic-Cons, we can't enjoy all our superheroes that we talked about, or we read about growing up. Why do we feel that just because I'm an adult, I'm not allowed to do that? In fact, if you all remember, very recently there was a viral video of Mr. Sunil Gavaskar jumping up and down, because of this T20 match. And Ashish can correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not sure if it was T20 or something else. But it was a very recent match in which India won, and he was just jumping like a little child. And just watching him brought in so much joy, that I thought I must mention that. Please include playfulness in your life. Become that joyful little bundle of love, laughter, and fun that we all were to some extent when we were growing up, right? So this is some very, very powerful strategies which you can start including from this moment onwards and heal your inner child. Now, the workshop that we are going to be doing, we're going to be going into so much more details, is happening this month, 16th, 17th, and 18th, and it's happening at 8:30 p.m. IST, so that, once you're done from your office, you've had your dinners and you can join us. There will be a 3-session workshop. There will also be a follow-up that is always done in our workshops, where we are going to go into the depths of everything that I've discussed. The question that I want you to really ask yourself is, how does my future appear if I continue living with a wounded inner child? And this is the question that I'm going to leave you with. And that will tell you whether you need to sign up for this workshop or not. Right? And this is something, which I feel very dearly, only because, everything Ashish and I ever, share with our community is what we have benefited from. right? So this is the time when you have to understand that, you know what, if I'm feeling I'm not enough, if I'm still carrying the burden of my past, if I'm still struggling with my finances, with my relationships, with my health as well, you know, it's time for me to think a little differently, do a little differently, right? And that's going to be my privilege and my intention and opportunity to help you and walk you through that space. Some of the aims and objectives of this workshop are going to be completely around every individual really becoming aware. Sometimes you're not even aware of what's caused this, you know, but unless, you know, it's literally like, unless I know what the illness is, I can't heal it, even as a clinician. To remove a tumor from the body, we need to get in and operate it. But before we do that, we need to see it. So we need to see to heal. We need to know to heal. So that's what we are going to be doing. And we are going to be doing one of the biggest thing is we're going to start reparenting our inner child. We are going to become that loving adult that we didn't have. And it doesn't mean sometimes you may not have had a childhood issue. You could have had a teenage issue. You could have young adult issue. So we are going to reparent ourselves through entire that aspect of our lives. And the whole aim and objective is to live the life of our highest potential. One of my clients who was struggling with their inner child, was struggling with a very, very suboptimal, this person had the best Ivy League degrees, the best, IQ, everything was perfect, but they were not able to land a job which would actually justify their credentials, their background, their knowledge, their degrees. And you wouldn't believe, within 6 months of working with this person, I mean, I can't obviously share the name of the company or the name of the individual because of privacy clauses. All that I can share is this person is now living the life of their highest joy. It's not just because work is giving them that salary, but it's because of their sense of worth, my self-worth, that I deserve, that I have received finally in my life what I deserve. And that confidence goes across not just work, their life, their family life, their professional life. Everything is connected. You know, we have these segregations, but they don't really exist. So there are such deep impacts once you start working on that. Some of the key strategies that I'm going to be working with are a lot of playful exercises. We are really going to tease and make that child very happy. So it's going to be a lot of playful work. We're going to practice something called the intuitive writing. You know, how do we connect with that little version of ourselves? I'm going to do some hypnosis. I am a medical hypnotherapist. I have been using that a lot in my cancer work, helping patients and a lot of my clients. So I'm going to be doing a lot of hypnosis work. I'm going to be doing forgiveness and letting go work, which is key to unburdening your past, changing your perceptions. So reparenting and reframing. So this is just so you understand that if you sign up for this workshop, what all will you be receiving as a part of that? And the rewards, as I just said, go way beyond these 7 or 6, which I have jotted down. You know, you are excelling, but more than that, you're living a life that you deserve. We all need to live. We deserve a life of joy, no matter what happened in the past. Today, we need to live a life of joy, of abundance, of happiness. You know, we all owe it to ourselves and we owe it to our families, because the moment we are happier, our families are happier, and our societies and our countries are a reflection of who we are. So it's a ripple effect. So what you do is not just for yourself, you're doing a huge service to your family, to your loved ones, but to your community and your country at large. So the ripple effect of this work is huge. And everything that can follow is amazing work relationships, great, you know, excelling financially. So I think somebody needs to mute themselves because there is some background noise.
Yeah, Dr. Jasbir, please mute yourself.
All right. So, and I would also have some requirements from the participants where you want to be more, you know, desire to be more playful and joyful in life, and commitment and willingness to change. Sometimes, you know, we become very complacent in living a below average or an average life, you know. So you need to say to yourself, now I'm ready to shake myself out of the slumber and live a life of joy. And you know, that sometimes mean being pushed beyond your comfort zone. So if you're ready to be shaken out of your comfort zone, then I would say join me, and we're going to have a lot of fun. I promise that we have planned some amazing, playful, fun exercises to do, which are going to really make you joyful and happy. And if you're ready for big shifts, then perhaps it's the time to, you know, really go all out. On that note, I would be very happy to take some questions at this stage, and handing over to Ashish from now. Thank you so much. Any questions that you can raise your hands, please, and I'd be very happy to take the questions.
Any questions or comments you would like to share? Thank you. So Sakshi, yes, we'll be sharing the details of the workshop that will answer your question. Yes, Sesha.
Yeah, good evening. So my question is, so many of the childhood trauma could be lost over the period of years. So how could we get it back is one question that I have.
All right, thank you, Mr. I hope I can pronounce it well.
Sesha.
Sesha. Thank you, Mr. Sesha. Yes, and typically with childhood issues, it lasts for years and it lasts for a long time. But as I said, that, you know, eventually when we are, and the longer it lasts, the deeper the imprint is. But as I said, that, you know, for when we are working as adults now, the duration does not matter. The impact matters. And the impact could be that somebody has had it over a period of time, or the impact could be that the person has had only maybe one incident, but that incident was so traumatic that it has left a deep scar. So the duration is obviously important, but more important than duration is the impact. And that is what we are going to work with. And once we kind of start diminishing the impact, the trauma starts to diminish. And then we start changing and shifting. So that will happen.
Thank you.
Dr. Nupur, I have a question. Hardeep here.
Hello, Hardeep.
Dr. Hardeep, could you raise your hand and then we will take one by one?
Sorry.
I'll request everybody to keep your questions and comments short. We will have a longer question answer towards the end of the session. This one is for a quick comment or question. So Dr. Jasveer, you are next.
Thank you, Ashishji. Thank you, Nupurji, for the wonderful session we had today. I tried this in a mirror therapy also. In that mirror therapy, a man was feeling a guilt in his mind that his mother died some years ago. He wanted to reach there, but he couldn't reach there. He had a guilt, and that was pressing him hard for many years. So I asked him to stand before the mirror, speak whatever it is, openly. And when he started speaking, he started weeping bitterly, and thereafter he felt relaxed. So healing the inner child, there are different ways of doing it, and it works really wonderful. Salute to your spirit. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Yes, I think we're having some disturbance at your end, but we really heard what you said. And mirror work is a huge part of inner child healing. And I use mirror work through hypnosis. And through hypnosis, then I will tell the participants to do mirror work out of hypnosis also. So mirror work, sir, thank you for sharing, is a phenomenal modality, and we are including that very much in the workshop. And well done to you, sir, for really helping this individual.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yes, Shruti.
First of all, thank you so much for this beautiful session. I was not sure whether this session, the topic was meant for me. I just joined because Dr. Nupur is taking the session. But during the session, I realized I had few glimpses of my childhood that definitely need work. So definitely I'm in to join the session. My quick question is, like, as you said, somebody worked on herself and could see a major transformation happening within 6 months. So when we are doing this workshop only for 3 days, would 3 days be good enough time to understand some tools that can be used on a longer run? Or would 3 days would be like a very short duration to have that impact? So
yes, thank you, Shruti, and thank you. You yourself are such a lovely speaker and a teacher at Mindful Living. So it's always a pleasure and an honor to speak to you. Yes, so 3 days is intense. I must say that there's a lot that's getting packed in, and actually 3 days comes with a follow-up session. And the intention is to really inform you of the various tools that you can practice on your own. And my work, my intention is always to make my, whether it's my patient, my clients, or my attendees of sessions, to be very self-reliant, right? So you would have got so much information in those sessions that you would be able to confidently say, now I can work on myself. And the work needs to be done on yourself also. But I'm always going to be around. So, you know, we always do hand-holding sessions. Even if you want any one-to-one sessions, that can be done. But I'm pretty confident that within these 3 sessions, you'll have enough material to become self-reliant and to heal. But the work can continue because you would have learned the tools. And I give recordings also. So you can hear the recordings, you can hear the meditations, you can hear the hypnotic scripts. And the more you hear the hypnotic scripts, the unfolding happens automatically. So some of the resources will be there with you online for life. So, you know, you will be able to use them.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you.
My pleasure.
For sure.
And I didn't mention, I might even do some EFT, emotional freedom technique. So I might even do some of that work. So, you know, I forget half the things, I don't write them. So, but
I've attended your previous workshops and found them really, really good. So without a second thought, I'm going to enroll just now.
Thank you, dear.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shruti. Dr. Hardeep and Dayalji, I'll request you to hold on to your questions. We'll just share about the workshop and then we will get into the final question and answer session. So friends, this is a time when you need to make a choice, and the choice is whether you want to take your life and the life of your family to the next level. If you would like to take your life to the next level, please type NL in the chat box. If you are ready to take your life and your family's life to the next level, please type NL in the chat box. And this, what Dr. Nupur has shared, this is such a common thing, you know, there's hardly anybody who would not have faced the challenges that Dr. Nupur spoke about. We all know that that's true for us. And friends, if there are a lot of you who would like to take your life to the next level, so I would just like to ask you for your permission before I share the details of the workshop with you. If I have your permission, please type P in the chat box. Please type P in the chat box if I have your permission. Thank you, Shruti. Thank you, Balaji. Thank you, Ruchi. Thank you, Dr. Hardeep. So friends, I'll just move on and talk about the investment that is required in doing this workshop. And there are 2 investments that are required. One is the time investment and another one is the money investment. Being a corporate professional ourselves, we understand that the return on time invested has to be very, very high. So we are very conscious. We try and pack the maximum in the hours that we ask you to invest in the workshop. So there are 3 sessions plus 1 bonus handholding session that Dr. Nupur spoke about. 4.5 hours of investment over 16th, 17th, and 18th November, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, 8:30 p.m., which is after your work hours. You may block your calendar and we can move on and I'll be happy to share with you the fee structure that we have kept is very, very nominal. A single coaching session with Dr. Nupur is £100, which is like 10,000 rupees. But here we are giving the workshop at a very nominal rate, a single session for 2,499, which is just for you to come in and check out whether this is the right thing for you to do or not. And 3 sessions come in for 4,999. And in case you would like to have a one-to-one coaching session, it is 7,499. Which is less than one, fees of 1 coaching session with Dr. Nupur. So Sakshi, I hope your question gets answered here. In case this is something that resonates with you, you could remit the amount using Google Pay or Paytm to Ruchi, who's the host of this session. This is the number that you can use. You can take a screenshot of this and you can remit the amount. Once you have shared the fees, once you've remitted the fees, please share the screenshot with us so that we can welcome you into the session. All these sessions will be Zoom live sessions. These are not pre-recorded sessions. And that is the reason we have more than 90% of the people completing the sessions successfully. And compared to the online sessions where the completion rate is like 5%, 7%, people sign up but they don't complete. And that's the beauty of these sessions, because these are live sessions. People come and complain. Like Dr. Nupur mentioned, what if I miss a session? It is quite possible with the work commitments and lifestyle that we have that you're not able to attend any one session. And if so, we do share the recording with you. All of our sessions are recorded and we share the recording with you, which you can use. One question that we often get asked is, this November, I am busy. When will be the next workshop? And friends, if you have this question, I would like to share this beautiful quote from Alan Bennett. Sometimes it is now or never. This is the first time in over 4 years that we are doing this workshop on inner child workshop. We don't know when the next one is, or rather we know when the next one is. It's going to be in 2023 after 12 months. So don't wait for that. Take time out, take out these 4.5 hours, invest in your own well-being. And Dr. Nupur had an amazing question. What would your life be? Imagine you invest these 4.5 hours. What's the trajectory your life is going to take? Whether it is in terms of your happiness, your fulfillment, your performance at work. I spoke about the challenges I faced because I couldn't express myself at work properly. I couldn't have, normal relationships. I was a people pleaser. So what is the impact it's going to have on you? Just think about that and take action now. It may have happened to you sometime. You may have signed up for a course that didn't work out for you. And if that is so, we offer you 100% money back guarantee. Don't worry, we are not here to make money. This is much lesser than, my main business is corporate workshops and corporate coaching and consulting assignments. I shared with you, Dr. Nupur works with NHS hospitals. So this, we do more to make the world a happier, healthier place than to make money. You sign up, doesn't work for you, money back, no questions asked. And part of the proceeds that we do go towards supporting this organization called Majha Ghar. Mr. Rajiv Agarwal, he's an CEO of an FMCG company. Now he started his foundation, which is the largest foundation for taking care of destitutes in Maharashtra. They have 2 ashrams in Pune, and I have visited, seen the facilities. So we have decided to offer part of the revenue of mindful living to the support of the destitutes in Majha Ghar. So that's where the contribution of the proceeds that come to us goes. Somebody requested us, so sharing the details of the fees once again for your convenience. You may take a screenshot. 1 single drop-in session for 2499, 3 sessions for 4999, and 3 sessions plus 1. Is there a UPI ID available? We can share the bank account details with you. Just stay on till the end session. And the extra bonuses, these sessions are not just you come in for 3 days, do the sessions and go away. You become a member of the mindful living community, and Dr. Nupur is a part of this community. Shruti is a part of this community. We are all part of most of us are part of this community, where we invite very senior, renowned speakers on an ongoing basis. So it's not that the session gets over and then you're left high and dry. You have this constant engagement with the community, which nurtures you and supports you. Like I mentioned earlier, there's a learning community where everybody supports each other. So this is a complimentary membership. You become a part of this beautiful community, thriving community, which helps you. And we take very few people. Dr. Nupur has decided that we're going to take only 15 people in this workshop. So please sign up. Please hurry up and sign up for this workshop. We have got only limited number of seats. Once this gets filled up, we will put you on the waiting list. And the next session, as I mentioned earlier, will be November 2023. So you'll be on wait list for next 1 year. Don't wait for your happiness to go to the next level for 1 year. Take time out now. Invest these 4.5 hours, and 2023 is about to come. Take your life onto the next level in 2023. So friends, sharing these details again, these are the bank account numbers. In case you would like to make a transfer, you can transfer the money to the bank account numbers. Sesha, I hope this helps you. And Dr. Nupur spoke about some free resources. So these are some works that you can refer to by Anita Murjani, Dr. Nicole Lepera, Louise, and this YouTube link is from the Louise meditation on inner child. And we will be sharing these with you on the email also. So soon after the session, you will receive an email from us, which will have links to these resources and to the meditation. I'll pause here to hear from you. Any questions or comments? Dr. Nupur, anything you would like to share?
Yeah, I think it's can you hear me well?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah. So I think it's just going to be something that is a very joyful process, no matter how hard it had been in the past. It doesn't have to be that, the healing process doesn't have to be that hard. And, for me, that I've learned over my years of practice that, sometimes we can just choose to be, approaching life more joyfully. And that choice is what heals us more than anything else. Our choice to say that, hi, it's enough is enough. I'm neither going to stand up to this, and nor am I going to inflict anybody with this kind of, wounds that I have, which have now become gangrenous for some of us. So I would just say that, yeah, do think about it. We are going to close our registrations on 10th of November because we are going to have some pre-workshop, coursework. So in this workshop, I'm going to be sending some recordings, some questionnaires, some very deep reflective work will start actually from 11th of November. So we are going to close down the registrations by 10 so that we can really create a community of, we are creating a safe space. We have to understand for a child, safety is very important. So this is going to be a safe space for people to heal. And we are going to create that tribe of safety for all of us where we can heal and lovingly grow together. So everything closes down on 10th. So if you wish to register, please do so.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shruti, for the registration. You have enrolled for the session. Thank you.
Thank you, Shruti. Welcome to the program. Dr. Hardeep will be happy to take your question, and then Deyalji.
Thank you. My question is, Dr. Nupur, will you be dealing with trauma bond?
Yes. So I don't know how intimate the trauma is. Sometimes, these traumas can be very, very intimate, and a person may not be very comfortable doing it in the group. So that is a conversation you can definitely connect with me separately, and we can explore that, what kind of trauma bonds, what kind of traumatic experience you've had, and also understand that everything is a layer. Everything is layered. Trauma is layered. In layers, we experience trauma. In layers, we experience abuse. It's almost like the layers of an onion. So when we are doing the work, we are unpeeling them. We are uncovering, unlayering, right? So even if you're able to uncover and unlayer 50% of the trauma in a group, I want to say that's huge, So always know that uncovering and unlayering can start to happen. The unfolding can happen with trauma bonds. And the rest of it can happen whenever, if you wish to do anything one-on-one, right? And if you don't, that's also great. You'll have the tools to carry on. And second thing, Hardeep, that I really want to share with you is that transcendence happens very quickly in a group work. When we are doing things together as a group, the transcendence is much quicker than when things happen and shift on one-to-one basis. So even one gentleman who asked about the time of the, timelines were longer. Yes, they may have been longer, but when we create a group energy, somehow we are transcending. It's like literally like me alone trying to push a cart and 5 of us together pushing a cart. So once we are doing the group work, the transcendence is much faster. So I would say, even if you're able to uncover and unlayer some amount of that trauma bond, that's also enough, right? But feel free to contact me individually. Ashish will be, I can share my number. If otherwise, I'm on the mindful community. And I'll
Thank
be more.
You, doctor. Thank you so much.
Yes. So next question, maybe. Otherwise,
can I please? Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you, Ashish ji. Thank you, Ashishji, for sharing these wonderful sessions. They are really, truly uplifting. And thank you, Nupurji, for sharing your vast and wonderful experience, your studies and your hard work. Now, my question is like, everybody has gone through our childhood trauma, like, everybody, irrespective, like one way or the other, but some have overcome. Some are still carrying it, I will say, but even they have grown up, like, it's just a matter of fate, like, and you rightly pointed out like it is passed from generation to generation. Like, I know personally feel, I know what phobias and fears or whatever anxieties I carry, my elders had it. But I was very careful to see that my children got inherit this. Anyway, that is a part of it. Now, one thing is that like whatever these, there is always at a subconscious level which is deeply rooted. Like you must be aware of the Freudian theory. Like unless we, like you rightly said in the previous, this thing that we have to cover layers after layers. So what all this while we were working at the superficial level, like, this psychoanalysis again is questionable, and drug therapy or cognitive therapy, even hypnosis, they are working on the, physical level, I will say. So that's my concern, like how deep when we go, how can we overcome? Like I'll say it is a garbage inside us, which unless we uncover it, we will not be calm. I know, I'm sorry, but I'm using harsh word. But you are the right person. You are the right person and the right platform, bang on the target, I will say, to solve this. Because we can be running around all over the world, cannot find the solution. And good that Ashishji and you coming in the same platform and sharing the right approach and the right person to deal with.
Yes, Mr. Dayal, you've actually said it very, very rightly, that it's a lot of filth that we are holding in unnecessarily, and it starts to stink also. And that's when we realize that something is not working in my life. And understanding again that the roots are deep, but when you strike at the root, you don't have to prune the branches. The root, once it's hit, the thing falls. So we are actually doing everything through energy work to strike the root. You could be at the tree, pruning the branches, bringing it down, chopping the bark for a long time. But if you just strike at the root of the tree, the root falls. So, sorry, everything that we are doing here, my intention is always not to put a band-aid or a plaster, but to also go to the root cause. And that's going to be my offering. And just to correct you, hypnosis is actually a very deep tool. Energy work, if you are doing hypnosis correctly, I have had people who have overcome lifelong phobias, crippling addictions people have overcome, trauma and abuse people have overcome. So done it at the right hands, with the right person, with the right intention, and with the right openness. All the tools that we are discussing, reframing, reparenting, hypnosis, EFT, and so many more, these are the things that go to the root cause, energy work. They are the root cause causing. So once we start doing, but you're absolutely right, each to their own capacity, and uncovering and unlayering is the way forward. So, we start doing it gradually. And as Shruti mentioned, it's only 3 days, but it is 3 days also, right? So what you can learn, and plus I forgot to mention, plus one follow-up, which is going to be free for everybody. So, so that's going to be enough for you to start understanding and creating a shift to wellness rather than to be stuck in the illness. So, the focus changes, and that's how my intention will be that. Thank you for that question.
Yeah, certainly sometimes it's spontaneous, like, you're waiting for the years, but you suddenly get a solution. Exactly. Like hypnosis, I think one of the factors where spontaneously you can overcome it.
Yes, and so spontaneous remissions happen even with chronic illnesses. You don't know. We have to say a yes in our heart. And once we say yes, universe actually works in our favor and magically transforms. And I have seen that happen time and again. So, more than us, it's also the work of the universal energies that are helping us to do it together.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dayalji, for that question. Dr. Nupur, we have a question on the chat, which is about trauma, not related to childhood, but as an adult. How do we deal with the trauma of losing our parents?
Yes, that's again a very profound space to work with. It needs a lot of acceptance and understanding, and growing in our spiritual awareness, when I talk about acceptance, acceptance is a part of the healing journey, even for the inner child. Now, when we are talking about losing our parent, remember who loses the parent? The child loses the parent. Now, the child is an adult who's lost the parent, but there's actually this connection has always been that a parent and a child. So, your inner child is obviously wounded. And the moment you start working on understanding who you are and who they are, understanding and accepting, starting to see things from a higher perspective. We can either have a tunnel vision and look at things from a very myopic view, or we can have an expansive view and understand, who am I? Who am I? Am I just this mind or body, or am I an energy? Am I a soul? If I am energy, so are they. And the love that doesn't get transformed, because when you think of your parent, you're thinking of love, and love is always in your heart. The memories are always in your heart. What has changed is the form. What has disappeared is the form. So, through losing a parent or a loved one, we have something called grief counseling. So in grief counseling, we go through these deeper aspects of understanding, who am I? Who are they? Acceptance, and then understanding it from a higher spiritual perspective. But at the same time, they say that grief doesn't diminish, but we have to grow beyond the grief so that we can let the grief be there and slowly let things heal and happen. So I would say, if you have lost somebody you have loved dearly, then please do some grief counseling as well. That's going to be very helpful for you.
Thank you for sharing that, Dr. Nupur. And we have a question from Dheeraj. Which subject will be used for transformation in this workshop? Dheeraj, would you like to ask a question live?
Yes, I didn't really understand the word subject, so please go ahead and ask. If you can unmute.
Yeah, actually, I am outside. That's why I wrote this question in the chat.
Thank you.
Good evening, everybody.
Good
Actually,
evening.
I wanted to know which subject will be used in this workshop for transformation. Is it some particular subject, or it is your your various subjects and your expertise? That's what I
Yes.
wanted to
Okay.
ask.
So you mean, what are the tools that are going to be used? If I can
tools,
reframe,
exactly.
if I can reframe the question.
Yes.
So the tools that are going to be used are a lot of self-introspective space. The tools that as I mentioned, I shared a slide with 10 tools where we are going to be using certain coaching techniques like reframing. We are going to be doing reparenting. We are going to be doing release work. We're going to be doing a lot of forgiveness and release work. We're going to be accessing our subconscious mind to release, to letting go, and to understanding. And then we are going to start changing our perception. So there's going to be a lot of work that is going to be used. We are going to use both conscious and subconscious tools, right? And we're going to do a lot of self-reflective questionnaires. We're going to do group work. We're going to do some playful exercises. So I've kind of combined a lot of tools from the world of quantum healing. I've done a lot of conscious questionnaire, self-reflective work, and the space of, if you go back to the recording, which you will receive in a day or two, you can see an exhaustive list of things that we're going to be using, which I have a lot of experience in, to release and let go.
Oh, thank you so much. That seems to be very exciting and interesting. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Mr. Sorry, I didn't get your name.
Thank you, Dheeraj, for that question.
Thank you, Dheeraj. Thank you.
Aditi, would you like to go next? Aditi, you've raised your hand. Do you have a question?
You're muted, ma'am. Please.
Yes. Good evening. Good evening.
Good evening.
You just suggested about grief therapy and the hypnosis. So you do that by like individual? You do take in.
Oh, you got muted again.
No.
Okay.
Yes.
Hello. Yeah.
Yes.
Am I audible now?
Yes. Please go on.
Okay. You just suggested about the grief therapy and the hypnosis sessions. So you take those sessions, one-to-one sessions, do you take it individually?
Yes.
Okay. So I was just, because that question of loss was mine. I had raised that question. I don't want to disturb in the middle of the session. That's why I just wrote it down in the chat box. So you just tell me how it can be done. So I just wanted to know the details of
Sure,
and
sure.
how the thing is how effective it is, uh, like the results, how effective the results are. The grief session which you talked about, I know about hypnosis, but I haven't heard about the grief sessions which you
Yeah,
just
so we call
mentioned.
it grief counseling. You may even, find people who are grief counselors in the city that you are. But by all means, feel free to, we've got your name and details, and one of our team members will reach out to you and tell you about the sessions if you want to do one-to-one coaching. Now, the effectiveness of anything is very subjective, but yes, there is this modality that is there to support you through the process. As I said, sometimes we need to expand beyond the grief because grief stays the same, but we need to expand our energies and grow around and with grief, accepting it. There's a lot of what we call acceptance and compassionate ACT therapy, and so we do a lot of other things also in grief counseling. And not necessarily hypnosis is a part of that, but that's separate. But that may include some other, things of expanding the consciousness, because the more you can be comfortable and understand that, what we lose is what we are thinking, what we are losing, and what we are actually losing. So, there's a lot of change in our perception. And the change of perception is gradual. It happens over time. But yes, you'll have somebody who will help you through the process of releasing lovingly. And
So,
yeah.
So, doctor, the PRL technique is same as like, is it somehow related to?
No, not really. Not really. So PRL, for those people who might wonder, is past life regression therapy. And that is something very different. And it may be a part of grief. It may not be a part of grief counseling. So not necessarily, right? So they're very different parts. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you for your question.
Yeah, thank you
and
so
somebody
much.
will be in touch with you for sure. And then we can help.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And your session was really, very nice. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. My pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Aditi, for that question. Friends, we'll be happy to take one last question if anybody has got. We have done our best to cover all the questions we got in the chat, but if we have missed out anyone's question, please take this chance to ask a question. Thank you, Mr. Surya Prakash. Really appreciate your feedback. Wow, thank you. Really appreciate that.
It was really a wonderful session, really eye-opening opportunity for changing the life. That's why I'll share with my children. I mean, they are already in the top of their position in the corporate world, but I felt that this is very essential for them. Maybe they may have or they may not have childhood trauma. I tried to bring up my child very well, but maybe something missing in the life, they will change it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. That was such a sweet sharing. Very sweet.
Yeah, really appreciate your feedback, sir. Really appreciate your comment. Thank you, Sharmila.
Yeah. You are in London, madam?
That's right, sir. I'm in London.
Yeah, my younger child worked in London and his wife also worked in London for some time. Now they are in USA. And that's why I'll share that details with them and hope they will join it. Thank you very much.
Absolutely, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lovely to meet you.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone, for taking out your time and joining the session today. It was wonderful having you all join us. We are working relentlessly to make this world a healthier, happier, wealthier place. Thank you so much, Dr. Nupur, for taking out time from your very busy schedule. And friends, I would like to share with you, this is the last workshop Dr. Nupur is going to do in 2022. So don't miss this opportunity. Invest in this workshop and finish 2022 on a high and start 2023 on it and take your life to a new trajectory. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you so much. Lots of gratitude. Thank you, Ashish, for such a lovely platform. And thank you. And to each one of you for staying back. Thank you so much.
Thank you.